Hey. So you're in Chiang Mai, I can tell. It's a beautiful sunshine there.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, we're actually in the Mongolian style yurts. It's in the Gansu province on the Silk Road.
Wow.
So this is gonna be like a pre-party of kind of a reading group. So someone actually recommended your book to us because this is like we're a group exploring different possibilities, exploring alternative ways to have a life and enjoy our life. And then as we were reading our book, and then we got connected. This is also I think this is like really for me it's a privilege to have you here.
Yeah, really thrilled to have you here. It's a beautiful surprise for us.
Awesome. Yeah, I love thinking about these topics and really cool to connect with a group of Chinese speakers as well.
Yeah, you're learning some Chinese?
I'm learning with my daughter. What的中文不好.
可以讲
I'm
一点。
learning all the kids songs like Bao Lo Bo. My daughter is 2, so
Yeah.
Oh
I'm learning
yeah.
like 两只老虎.
两只老虎. Yeah.
Probably you have seen some of our videos and also the
Yeah.
concept of value about MultiFIRE Club. So it's really amazing that I found many values resonated with your books and our experience. So I'm sure we'll have a lot of sparks.
Yeah.
It'd be useful for me to know where people are. Like
Okay.
I can answer the questions better.
Yeah, let's see. We have Sydney, we have Chiang Mai,
Yeah.
Mongolia, Canada, Shanghai,
Uh,
Alabama in US,
yeah, Canada,
Canada.
Shanghai, Chengdu, Sydney, Dali. Uh,
Okay. So just to start, how about Paul just say hi to us and then just introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, how do I introduce myself? I grew up in the United States in a state called Connecticut. Not like a fancy area. I grew up 3 hours from New York City, but we never went to New York City. We were small town people. Everyone around me sort of just did the what I call the default path. The default path is probably different for everyone that grew up in a different country. Though I think the feeling of it is the same, right? Pressure from parents, pressure from society. And for me, the whole point of growing up, the whole point of life was to get a job at a big company. I was good at school, so I never really questioned any of that. But as soon as I started working in jobs in internships and at school, I would always just like rebel against everything, but like never fully doing anything radical. I would move jobs as fast as possible, and I was always sort of uncomfortable with my situation. And I think eventually I detail this in the book, but I ran out of next steps. Like no one would hire me anymore, or and I sort of was just in a bad situation with a rough manager, and basically decided to quit without a plan. Two things happened after I quit. One was that I quickly realized I really like time flexibility, and I was willing to basically live like an aesthetic artist life to have time. And two, I found it very weird because despite making enough money to support myself doing random things, everyone around me was like panicked and worried about me. They thought I had done a terrible thing. They thought I was ruining my life. They thought I was wasting all my potential. Um, but I was actually starting to feel better about myself for the first time. I was starting to really figure out what brought me alive. And over the last 8 years, I've really been building a life increasingly around my creativity. Like within a year and a half, I had moved to Taiwan. And when I moved there without a plan, within 5 weeks, I met my now wife and I committed more deeply to writing. I sort of realized, oh, wow, I could write. I don't need to try to make money from writing. I can just write because I really enjoy it. I love it. And I can build a life around this, no matter how that happens. And to be honest, I've never had a plan longer than 6 months. It's always just like make it up as I go, as we go, me and my wife. and she's very aligned with me in sort of approaching a very interesting life. We build our life around creativity, and we basically do whatever we can to pay for that. We either live simply, live flexibly, lower our cost of living if we need to. We aren't trying to own a home. We don't own cars. Um, and so still just trying to make it work. I think 10 years from now, I have no idea how I'll make it work, but I know I'll definitely be writing. I'll be connecting with curious people like you. I love having these conversations. They bring me alive. And yeah, I'll probably still be exploring ideas, spending time with my family. But other than that, I don't know how I'll pay for it, how I'll figure it out. And so, yeah, I love connecting with communities like yours because I think the the best thing I realized was taking a step back in my career at 33 years old, sort of what you're talking about with multi-fire, these multiple mini retirements. I was able to like look at my life for the first time and be like, what am I even doing?
Yeah.
I'm sort of like a robot. And it was sort of hard because I had a really good life on my resume, but I didn't have a good life in my heart.
Oh,
Um, it wasn't a life I like I really didn't think I could live that life and be the person I wanted to be. Like I thought the odds of that were very low. And so it was very hard to let go of that because I mean when you have a nice job, like people think you're awesome.
Yeah.
And then when you give that up, like they project all their insecurities onto you.
Yeah, exactly. So when you said all your people around you were feeling panicking, it's not because they really feel, how you would, respond to your life situations, but it's just reflection of their uncertainty or their what
imaginary.
their imaginary the thoughts that's bothering them. They're just reflecting, projecting it on you. And like you said, having a fancy resume, it was part of a societal standard. If you aim to solve all the problems, like get a raise, get managing, leading an even larger organization, building your own company, buy a home, buy a number of cars. If you try to solve all the problems, you're never gonna solve all the problems. At some point, we realize that it's just important for us to define what's your own problem to solve. What are the problems that's worthwhile to yourself you want to solve. You mentioned that you moved to Taiwan and then met your wife, and apparently, you guys are like really kind of on the same page in terms of how you want to live a life, right? You said
Yeah.
you're not trying to own a home, you're not focusing on materialism. How did you guys meet?
Tinder.
Oh, okay, yeah. At what point did you feel that you guys share the same value?
I think the funny thing about us meeting was that we both gave up meeting someone
Oh,
before we met. I was pretty like hopeless. But before going on a date with Angie, I don't think I had gone on a date in like 6 months. And so I think being back in Taiwan, I was like, I don't know, maybe. But before that, I had this internal narrative that was I made like not very good money in the US. Who's gonna want to date me? I'm a failure. And I basically decided, okay, I'm never gonna get married. I'm just gonna like live my life and whatever happens, happens. And so I think by doing that, I was actually embracing a process of accepting myself and being like, you know what, I'm just going to be the weirdo.
yeah.
And so when I did start dating again, I changed my dating profile to I don't want to build my life centered around work. I had some work success, but it's ultimately not that matters to me. I want to build my life around a community of curious humans doing work that matters to me and surrounding myself by loved ones.
Yeah.
And that attracted her too. I think she was going through on her first date, she was saying she was quitting her job.
Mm.
And so she thought, okay, like this guy's gonna dump me. He thinks I'm a loser. But I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
She had like almost no money and was doing it. And I was just so attracted to that courage.
Yeah, I can see that as you were becoming a better version of yourself, right? So you attract people who share similar thoughts, share similar values. So when I proposed to Lulu, so I proposed her with a ring that I bought from a souvenir store in Hawaii that cost $3. So my thoughts were like, so if I have to be my authentic self, and then to when I look for a potential partner in life, I don't want to like pretend to be someone else, because that way I'm gonna just put myself in a hopeless road, and then at some point when I have to end up or go separate ways. So why pretend to be someone else, right? Just find yourself. Like you said, you stepped on your pathless path. You started discovering yourself, and just like how we spent 2 years traveling around the world, we saw a lot of different culture, different country, different value, different way of life. But then really what we saw was not the 70 countries, but what we saw was our inner self. We started understanding ourselves. We started knowing ourselves. And then as we are kind of just showing our true self to our club or to a potential romantic partner, this is how you become more attractive. So really love your story. Right? You be yourself, and then you naturally started attracting people who share similar thoughts and values.
Yeah, but like Paul mentioned, sometimes we don't know that we were designed by someone else or expected by the society, right? Actually, when Paul introduced herself, I felt goosebumps all over me because
Yeah.
I resonate a lot with you. Like you have a beautiful resume, but you felt that you didn't really live a happy life until now.
Yeah.
So you actually mentioned some of the questions I want to ask, but maybe let's just go a little bit deeper about some details. So, for example, like you mentioned that you quit the job without any plan, and then also the whole environment actually respond to your decision negatively, right? So maybe let's touch on that a little bit more. So, what moment in your own like previous journey did you realize that you were not meant for the default path? Like, how did you hold on to the true self?
I don't think I realized it until after I quit, actually. I think I created my own story of, okay, I am a bit different. I don't fit in like everyone else, but I'm going to do it my way. So every time I get bored with a job, I'm going to change jobs, and I'm not going to care if people judge me for changing jobs. Or I'm going to optimize for learning over things that will just like be helping my career.
Yeah.
And I am going to like make a career, like change direction and focus on topics in my career, even if it means it's not going to be good long term. Or I'm going to like work less than other people. So I'll leave work early. And I think the problem with this is it worked for a while. And then over time, I became cynical because I was fighting the system I was a part of. And I was being shaped by that environment at the same time. So it was like this cycle that basically like I kept trying to fight back, create my own world, and the system wins.
Yeah.
Mm.
But
There's like these people like go to your manager and like come up with a new title for your job and position yourself separately and define your purpose, and like that shit doesn't work for me.
yeah.
Like I don't think it works for most people, but like it was so hard for me. I didn't have energy for like a side gig while I was working in my own job. I was just losing energy and I think becoming less and less motivated over time.
Mm.
And so it wasn't until I left, and even it probably took 9 months to a year, I started working on like a podcast and my blog, and I was so excited. I had like no following online. I had no way of making money, but I would like wake up and want to go work on those things. And so at that point, it was like, oh, like I can use so much of this time to explore my interests and feel better about myself. And sure, my savings is shrinking, but my mindset at the time was, well, I don't know. I'll figure that out.
We often say that you can figure out everything before you start making your trip, before you start your trip, right? So we planned a trip. We originally planned to travel for 500 days and then return to California and then back to my probably find another, like you said, another company to work for. So after graduation, my first job was working at Microsoft in Redmond. I was engineer programming Windows operating system, very hardcore, very. I think it was very interesting to me at that time because programming was
Yeah.
a passion when I was a teenager. But then, similar to you, at a certain point in my career, I was becoming more successful from the perception of others. I became a leader, leading hundreds of people. I worked at Google, worked at Facebook. But then I lost my passion. I'm like, is this the type of work I imagine? Like when I was a teenager, I was really passionate about programming, like building robots, building right programs to solve problems. But then end of the day, I felt that before we left California, I felt that I became a successful entrepreneur. But then it is the type of life I wanted. I'm like appreciate having that opportunity or having those like you said a beautiful resume or a fancy resume. But like I'm not charging myself. I'm not feeling more energetic. Every day I go to work, I feel that I'm discharging. I have to do something else to charge myself up. So that's the point where I felt that, hey, we can make a change in our life. But then at that point, we didn't really know what's going to happen. So we'll never be able to make, perfect plan before we start making our first step up. So one thing we often share in our video is the way appears as you walk along the way.
Well, since we're already talking about purpose, how
Yeah.
about we dig a little bit more about what's your view about life purpose? You mentioned that you never have like a plan longer than 6 months, and then Leon has become like a no planning person ever since we started traveling. So at this moment, what's your view on life purpose? How do you balance like making a plan and then work for a goal versus like just drifting like freestyle?
Yeah, I think I've never resonated with like life purpose or do one thing or all these things. I'm just not wired that way. I think, I don't know, purpose is so hard. I think for me, I think much more in principles in terms of how I want to live. So when I think about how I want to live, it's sort of this, okay, here's the intention. I'm going to revisit these and say, okay, were those working principles? Do they actually work for my life? Do they lead to a satisfying thing? And so one of the phrases I write in my book is coming alive over getting ahead. And that's a reminder of me to choose the actions that lead to aliveness. And so I don't always get it right, but it's a way to try and test that and then revisit and say, okay, at the end of this year, I chose some stuff that was coming alive over getting ahead. Am I broke? Is my family falling apart? Like, am I happy or unhappy? And so for me, that one keeps working and keeps leading to interesting things. And so it's a way for me to know, okay, keep using that principle in the future. And so all my principles are tied to like decision making criteria. And so another one is put creative work above paid work, right? And so what that looks like right now is I spend a lot of time writing books that I'm going to publish in the future. Now, my first book, The Pathless Path, did really well. I also published a second book. It is not done as well. And many people who have read The Pathless Path don't even know I have a second book.
What
But
I have no idea you have another book.
exactly,
But
see,
I'm sure you
it's called.
enjoyed the process of writing the second
Oh my
book
God,
just as well.
it
That's
was so great, and like, yeah, it's awesome. And so when I think back over the past 8 years, the two highlights for me work-wise are like the books. It's all the conversations I've had with people and the two books. They were the just so satisfying. And so for me, it's like, okay, at the end of my life, if I'm able to write like 10 books, that feels like a really good like work life.
Yeah.
Um, I think if I made a lot of money doing some random thing that wasn't like books or related to writing, I don't think I'll care
Yeah.
at 80. And so it's keep coming back to that. And then, yeah, I'm kind of going through and trying to rewrite a lot of my principles now with a family and a young child. As I'm sure you know, that kind of rebalances things. But yeah, still trying to figure that out as I go.
So what's your comment about the life purpose?
Yeah, I think at some point, I think we started walking the default path because it's obvious, it's easy, it's certain, it's right there. There's a lot of reference. Our parents probably walk the default path. There are a lot of parents' relatives walk the default path. There's everything on the internet about the default path.
Exactly.
So it's easy. But
But
then after a certain point, you started defining your own purpose. And then the point is, just like I really love the graduation ceremony speech from Steve Jobs in Stanford. He said, whenever you look forward in life, you make dots in life, but you don't understand how the dots would connect. Only after maybe 10 years later, you look back, you see
yeah,
how your random decisions, how the dots connected, how those random decisions back in time made the person you are. So that's at that point I started making random decisions because if I want to have surprises in my life, I have to be able to make decisions or put myself in situations that I would not be able to fully articulate or understand. Because if I only drive myself to directions that I fully understand, then I would never be able to surprise myself. So that also
Mhm.
means I would never be able to end up in situations or in places that I cannot imagine.
Mhm.
So you can only make things happen in your life within your kind of territory of knowledge. But if you want to make a huge step up or a huge surprise in life, stop making plans for everything.
Yeah.
and
Yeah, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say on the purpose stuff too. You can actually search my blog, and I have written about purpose. Like I was looking up an article in 2015. Like I wrote that one of my goals was like helping to build amazing communities and company cultures.
Oh, post the link.
Yeah, and it's like not true anymore. But I think like the point is when I look back on that person, I so desperately wanted a purpose,
Yeah.
but I was just playing the wrong game, right? And so I actually did another thing in 2019. I was just finding it where you're supposed to write down your purpose until it makes you cry. And I
Oh,
think I actually, so this one is connect as a real friend to people to give them the courage to create, help simplify the world to enable people to imagine new possibilities and continuously be more brave in discovering the people and things that matter in my own life. And I think that one works because it's very vague.
hmm.
It doesn't talk about the what, it talks about the how.
Yeah.
And so many people, when they're talking about purpose, they're like, I want to build $1 billion company,
You're right.
or I want to go to Mars,
Hmm.
right? Elon Musk. I don't know. That's just so boring to me. I just want to like be a person. So it's very much like being mode versus doing mode.
Yeah, yeah, it's all about being. I think that's the beauty of Earth. We have 70 now over 80 billion people on Earth. Someone wanna just be a person that the type of person they wanna be.
Mhm.
That's where we can unleash the full creativity of every single individual on Earth. That's where how we can help with the humanity.
The
Uh,
whole being is being,
yeah,
right?
right, exactly. We're a human being. About being, exactly. So I wrote an article on my blog years ago about the goal is not the goal. So that was how I framed a lot of organizations focus on the goals, on the KPI so much that they actually forgot the whys behind it, right? So we talk about how, what, and why. How you achieve it, what are you achieving, but why exactly are you achieving it? So now as I stepped away from my corporate environment, I look at this framework of the goal is not the goal in my like personal life. That all still applies. Like sometimes the goal we define in life, someone like a impact, a wealth, or whatever KPI you might have. it's actually not serving us for the purpose of life, for your own particular purpose. Just don't focus on the goal too much.
Mhm.
Follow your heart.